Good evening. A friend of mine is playing Gloomspite Gets, playing a Troggoth version in our league. And we were brainstorming some ideas for lists, and I just wanted to throw this idea at him to see what he thinks. So we are playing Gloomspite Gets. The army subfaction is Glog's Mega Mob. Grand strategy is chasing the bad moon, which means that our general has to be under the light of the bad moon for at least 3 turns. Very easy to do. Our triumph is indomitable, and that's for a turn 1 play, which we shall see here in a moment. So our general is a Dankhold Trugg boss, which is the 1 hero required in a battle regiment. And we do have Alpha Trugg. This is to give us a monster. This list has a difficult time with enough feet on objectives, so going from 2, I believe, to 5 matters. It also lets us roar and stomp and smash rubble and other things that we don't otherwise have access to in this list, so seems good. Fungoid Cave Shaman has the Staff of Sneaky Stealin'. We're going to throw our Primal Dice into this, and the spell is Itchy Nuisance. Then we have Scragrot the Loon King. Enough said. And then we are running a Web Spinner Shaman, which is a 2nd Locus. And this and the Fungoid Cave Shaman together will make the Andorian Acolytes Battalion. And the Web Spinner Shaman is running Merciless Blizzard. I'm not sure if you're not familiar with this unit. It's a 65. It's a 65-point wizard that has a 5-up ward. Let me repeat. It's a 65-point wizard that has a 5-up ward. It has a 6-up save and 4 wounds, but it does cast Blizzard. So this little guy is gonna move up and cast some blizzards. And then to the bulk of our army, we have 2 reinforced units of Rock Guts, and then 1 unit of Fellwater Troggoths. Pardon me. And then the interesting tech here is we're running 1 reinforced unit of Bounderz. And I'll talk about this more in a sec. And then, of course, we have Gobblepalooza with the Hand of Gork and your Endless Spell of Choice. So here I've gone with Geminids, but we have another 15 points. So it can't be anything that's like 70 or more. So this could be like other things. It could be Pendulum. But I think Geminids is probably the right call. And then we're a little bit underpointed. We're 15 points under, so there's a really good chance that we will be getting the Triumph here, which is the +1 to wounds. And then we're 3 drops because we fit nicely into Andorian Locust and then Battle Regiment. So looks like we might actually be contesting to control first turn, which is really interesting to me on these maps and in this season right now. Like choosing to go 2nd, right? And then potentially double turning, or choosing to go 1st. And then it kind of depends on the map, depends on a lot of these maps. Going 2nd has some value, so it really depends on the map and your opponent and all that. But having control of it seems interesting to me. So this 300 points of Bounderz before was Trugg. That's what was being run here. And the way that Trugg was being played in this army was that Trugg was being thrown at the opponent. So Trugg is being teleported. Trugg is getting like +1 to charge from the Gobblepalooza, and then is coming in, or at least attempting to come in, with an 8-inch charge. And then so instead what we're doing is we're looking at the Bounderz filling the exact same role. So you don't even have to teleport them, because they move so quick. They run in charge under the light of the bad moon. So if you're clever, where you put your bad moon on turn 1, and where your opponent is positioned, you can fly these directly at your opponent and run in charge. So the movement speed is going to be D6 +7. So you're looking at 10 inches, right? And then if you can run in charge, it'll be an additional D6. So like 13, 14 inches is where you're looking at now before the charge. So that's pretty far. If you stick them out on your front line, and especially when you're deploying, you're probably already going to know who gets to control first turn, right? Like you will know who is going to control the first turn. So that means that you can do things like, oh, I'm going to go first and put my Bounderz right on the front line. So that, like, I'm going to be a threat to my opponent, and they're either going to have to deploy really far back, or they're going to have to deal with Bounderz coming into them right off the rip. So, I mean, to me, that's really interesting. You can save your teleport to move like a reinforced unit of rock guts up into a more advanced position, sort of helping with the slow movement speed of the army, right? Like, you could do 6 rockets, not the ones that have the fell waters behind them. You know, that seems good to me. Or you could throw like a web spinner shaman, like an acolyte, onto an objective somewhere and set up that blizzard, or at least threaten it, right? Like, be another threat from the side. Yeah, I mean, interesting. So the reason that we're going with, or that we're not going with Trugg, is for this reason. So if you look over, so the way that Trugg was being played, like I've said this already, but Trugg was being played as a hammer. It's like, we're going to teleport him and we're going to throw him in, but he doesn't deal a lot of damage. Trugg's special sort of things is that he is, so he's got a bunch of different abilities, right? He's a War Master, so he's a general. It's like, okay, you know, fine. Pretty sure Scragrod is a War Master too, so it's not like that is adding a lot of value in this list. I'm just gonna double check that. I'm pretty sure that he's a Lore Master, but I'm not sure if he's both a Lore Master and a War Master. Scragrod the Loon King, War Master. Yeah, he is both. Or is he both? Yeah, he's both. So it's not like you're getting a lot of benefit from his War Master ability. And then his malfunctioning ley line, outside of the Army of the Renowned, it only applies to him. And the fact that you can't choose which ability it is, in my opinion, matters quite a bit. Because if you're going to give it to all of your Truggs, it doesn't, like, then it's always going to be an interesting benefit. So, you know, you roll a d6, and on a 1 it hurts you, so on a 1 it fails, okay. A 2 is +1 attack. 3 is +1 rend. 4 is like, you can get free command points. Like, on a 2-up, you get a command point instead of spending a command point, or like you get free commands. On a 5, you need 6s to hit you to score hits. So it's like, you know, defensing and shooting. And if you roll a 6, it's a 5-up ward. And you're always going to roll the one that you don't need, right? You're going to roll the one that you don't need. When you need him to be a hammer, he's not going to be a hammer. And then his other abilities are like, he has like a crushing grip ability, so he's gonna take 1 extra model out when he fights. That's okay. You have to, it's 1d6 and you have to roll equal to or greater. So, you know, 4 wounds is where he's gonna be at his best, right? If it's 1 wound, it's not gonna be impactful, but if he could get a rock gut, for example, that would be a really good target. So that ability is good, right? It's gonna add a little bit extra damage. You know, it's good. You can break coherency and do stuff like that. And then he has a super regenerate, right? D3 + 3. And he's got a lot of wounds, right? Like, he's a 4-up save on 16 wounds. So, I mean, like, that's quite a bit of wounds. But he doesn't deal the damage. So if he's not buffing the entire army, and then he's really tanky, that's a different role, right? If what you want is to throw a big monster at your opponent that they have a hard time getting rid of, and he just bogs down the enemy army, then Trugg is better. But if you look at the Boingrot Bounderz over here, like, this is with 10 Boingrot Bounderz, so this is 20 points less than Trugg. When they deal significantly more damage, like they are doubling the amount of damage that Trugg is doing. They're doubling the amount of damage that Trugg is doing. Boingrot Bounderz deal incredible damage. The reason is because when they charge in, they get +1 rend and +1 damage on their poking lances, which have a 2-inch range, so the whole unit of 10 can all get in. And they also have a ability called Boing Smash. When they connect, in a unit of 10, you roll 10 dice, and for every 4-up, you deal a mortal wound. So they're going to be dealing 5 mortal wounds on impact on average, which is not trivial. That's a non-trivial amount of damage. And then the thing that gets really interesting, in my view, is instead of having to use your teleport to teleport Trugg, and then Gobblepalooza to give him the additional charge, you can use those 2 units to instead, like I said, teleport some rock guts into a better position to help make up for the slowness of the army. But then Gobblepalooza can instead add rend to the attacks coming from the Bounderz. Because if I'm not mistaken, and let me know in the comments below, but Gobblepalooza improves the Rend characteristic by 1, and that's what Lances of the Bounderz does too. It says you improve it by 1. It doesn't say, like, make it 2, right? So if they're both improving by 1, then they should stack. So Pokken Lances suddenly has 3 Rend. And then the Fang-filled Gob has 2 Rend. And it's a lot of damage. And then, in addition, if you give them all-out attack when they charge in, because their to hit is 4s on both their Pokken Lances and Fang-filled Gobs, and you use the Indomitable, which we'll probably have because we're at so few points, right? So you're getting +1 to hit, +1 to wound, and you're getting plus Rend. You're going to be dealing 30 damage expected against a 4-up save. You're going to be dealing almost 20 damage against a 2-up save unit with all-out defense. No, a 3-up save unit with all-out defense. So that's a unit of Ardboys. A unit of Ardboys with all-out defense. You are wiping that unit. I'll say that again. A unit of Ardboys, any 3-up 2 wound, like Saurus Warriors, for example. You're expecting with all of those buffs. Again, this is all-out attack, the +1 to wound, and 1 additional Rend from Gobblepalooza. This doesn't also include Hoarfrost. You could also Hoarfrost them too. You'll have to double check how those interactions work with all this Rend stacking, right? I could be wrong, but it's like, it's going to be a lot of damage. And then they die. They hold up your opponent, you're teleporting rockets, you're running everything forward, you're creating space on the map, you're pinning back your opponent. I think those Bounderz have 2 wounds each, so this is a 20 wound 4-up save. And they have a 4-up save, right? Like, they're not a 5-up, 6-up. So they have a decent save, so they'll probably stick around a little bit. And they can fly, like, right? So they'll be able to get over anything. Then they come back out of the Loon Shrine. You've yeeted them at your opponent in an attempt to hold them back, clear some screens, deal some damage. Maybe if they've left a weak spot open, right, you're throwing it at their side. And then when they die, that's fine. You don't care. You want them to die. And then they come back as a unit of 5 Bounderz, and then they get to do it again. And 5 Bounderz deal more damage per point than a unit of 10 Bounderz, because in a unit of 10 Bounderz, normally 5 of them don't get to use their like the Fang-filled mob, like the Squig attack, because it only has a 1-inch reach. I mean, you can get more than that in, right? But the math here is assuming it's only 5 in the front row. Yeah, and then they crash in again. So they come out of, because this list, because this list was so tanky, because before, like I said, instead of running Bounderz, it was running Trugg. So because the list was so tanky, not a lot of units were dying, and like all of these heroes don't get to come back. The only things that were getting to, and Trugg doesn't get to come back. The only things that were coming back out of the Loon Shrine were Rockguts, and it's difficult to wipe a whole unit of Rockguts, and Fellwaters, which are behind a unit of Rockguts, and Gobblepalooza, which is sitting in the back, being a backline screen. So nothing was dying and nothing was coming out of the Loon Shrine, right? So this is utilizing that ability a little bit better. And yeah, and then you're still just getting a ton of healing off of the Glog's Mega Mob. And I don't think I would change the sub-faction, even though it's a little bit different now. The Jawzamork is not good here, because the damage from the Bounderz is not coming from the Squigs, it's coming from the poking, like the actual riders and the impact mortals. So the Jawzamork is not going to help us out here. The only other one might be Kingskits, but again, we're just not bringing stuff back from the Loon Shrine. I guess if I was going to change the sub-faction, like if you told me that I had to, I would actually probably go with the which one is it? It's the Grimscuttle? No. Bad Snatchers. Yeah. Each time a casting roll is made for a friendly Bad Snatchers Moon Clan Wizard. So that would be... does Scragrock count? Maybe not. I'm not sure. If Scragrot counts as one or not. That'd be something to check out. I want to say no, he doesn't. But I could be wrong. If that wizard is within 9 inches of any other friendly bad such as moon kind of wizard, you can re-roll one of the die in that casting roll. Each time you cast with one of your wizards, if it's wholly within 9 of any other wizard, bad snatcher moon clan wizard, you can re-roll one of the dice in that casting roll. Like you're getting your spells. You know, and because you're saving your primal dice and throwing them at your unbinds with the Staff of Sneaky Stealing, like re-rolling those spells might actually be better than the extra healing on those. So I mean, that's something else. I guess that's worth considering a little bit. But I wouldn't change if I did make that change, I wouldn't change the rest of the list. I would just leave it as it was. But yeah, that's kind of the idea. So let me know in the comments what you think. It's a little bit different, but I don't know. Like, subscribe, what?